Hello, I'm Anna Amelia from North East Animal Rights. Welcome to another one of our short videos on all things vegan. Today we're talking about the dairy industry. Now, we have covered this before several times, in fact, but we think it's really important that we keep making sure that the general public know what goes on in the dairy industry and what is happening when they're buying milk and cheese and the dairy products. A few weeks ago, we supported Animal Justice Project's Dairy Still Kills National Day of Action. We also supported their event at Darlington Farmers Market, and some of you may have seen it on the news or in the newspapers, and also all over social media, where we and they told everyone that animal farming has expired and there is no future in animal farming. A while ago in here, we talked about the requirement that came into place at the end of 2021, which is the requirement that male calves are no longer shot at birth. At the time, around 60,000 calves were being shot just because they were male. This is not law, as I said. This is a recommendation by assurance schemes like Red Tractor. It's been brought about by public opinion because people don't want to be associated with male calves being shot, just for a pint of milk. And campaigners work relentlessly to bring this in the public domain, this dirty little secret. But either way, these babies' mothers, they're being brutally artificially inseminated. They carry the baby and they give birth to them to have them taken away. While the shooting is no longer supposed to be happening, it's not law, so we know that killing milk calves is still a cheaper option, so it will be happening. But let's suppose it isn't happening. Let's suppose that every dairy farmer is abiding by the assurance schemes and not killing these babies. These male babies have no use to the dairy industry, so they'll have one of a number of fates. They'll be sent to market to be sold for fattening and slaughter in the beef industry, or bought to go straight to slaughter, or they'll be sold for veal. Veal is more expensive mainly because of the amount of money a farmer can get from their tiny little bodies, because obviously it's less, and also because in this country it's considered a delicacy or a luxury. It's the same way that this is in the same way that suckling pigs are. These babies with the tender and deemed sweeter flesh, eaten by people who have more money than sense and certainly no compassion. Veal calves are usually killed around 6 to 8 months old. And again, bear in mind that an animal, a cow, would usually live to about 20 to 25-year-olds. So these are just babies. All of the main producers in supermarkets, Tesco's, Morrison's, Asda, they all have different standards as well. Some will give calves 8 weeks protection before they send to market, others will send it to market at 7 days old. We've also heard in the press, in the sort of last couple of years, particularly over in Germany, that there's now the ability to sex semen to stop male calves being born. Obviously, the farmers are responding to the criticisms of male calves being killed needlessly. So they're now looking at using technology and science to stop that happening. But this means another unwanted cost, because this technology is not cheap. Another cost to animal farmers who have had rising costs. We know that they have really suffered over the last few years, but it's also had limited success as well. But the other side of the coin is that more female calves are being born in this relentless cycle of abuse and inevitable death. We all know that there are a number of types of animal farming. We get told this often enough when we are doing our dairy outreach in Newcastle. We'll have farmers coming up to us and saying that we are not that type of farmer. We have the organic route, we have free range, we have grass-fed routes. In the egg industry, they boast about hens being corn-fed before they're killed because it produces a better colour egg. And then we have the cows who are being fed, really good quality grass. We know that farming is a very hard job to do. We've spoken to enough farmers who tell us they care about the animals and show us pictures of their animals, to show us that they're in good condition, to argue their point. We tend to concentrate on factory farming as being the biggest atrocity, but you can't get away from the fact that even on higher welfare farms, these babies are still being taken from their mothers, the cows are still being artificially inseminated, and they and their exhausted bodies are still sent to slaughter way before what should be their natural lifespan. No matter what a farmer says, that they say that they love their animals while they're on the property, and some of them may well really care for the animals. No matter what they say, no matter whether they had the finest grass or the purest water, they don't dance after the deaths, and they would choose to live. They would always choose to live. We know this because we see them going to slaughter. We see how terrified they are, not just of the journey, their last journey to the slaughterhouse, but the fact that they are hungry and thirsty due to being starved a day or so before this journey. We see and hear them and smell their terror when they arrive at the gates. We see their wide-eyed terror. We hear them vocalising their fear, and we smell the liquid excrement and urine which comes from their emptying and stressed bodies. One of our members did some research on the sounds cows make, partly to check that we weren't transferring our own distress onto the sounds that these gentle animals make, and kind of imagine something which wasn't there. But all of the research which she found and I found show a clear distinction between noises they make when they're communicating with each other, when they're not stressed, and the sounds that they make when they have their babies taken from them, or on the trucks, or waiting to go on the kill floor. There's a clear difference, and we can hear that these animals are very, very distressed. But this brings us back to our main point: dairy still kills. The dairy industry is the beef industry. If you are consuming milk, whether in the form of a drink or butter or cheese or ice cream, you are still directly contributing to the death of cows. Vegetarianism is a great stepping stone to veganism, but the intention and the destination should always be veganism, and as quickly as possible. Veganism is the single most effective way of an individual to reduce climate change. It's a simple, it's a very, very easy thing for an individual to do. And also cutting out dairy and meat from what is a typical Western diet, meat and two veg sort of thing. It's something which the United Nations and the World Health Organization have been promoting for a number of years to cut it out, because they know how unhealthy it is and also how damaging it is for the environment. The reason why political parties and governments won't put more of an emphasis on plant-based diet is down to optics. There's always money at the root of it for a start. The Green Party, for example, would be the obvious party who should have veganism at its core, but they know that they will lose support if they say that you should be vegan to be a Green Party member or to vote Green. And also, push a fuller green agenda which accepts animal agriculture as having such a devastating impact on greenhouse gases. It's kind of about making it more palatable to the general public. Similarly, government will never make anything other than half-hearted attempt and pay lip service to look at climate change. They rely on donations from wealthy landowners to keep them in power, which is why we had so many issues with getting fox hunting banned in law. Look at all the promises made at COP26 back in October. Everybody was promising literally the earth. They're going to do all sorts of things, but if you look now at the progress they've made, it's really, really not good. We regularly share articles about farming, and two which have been in the news recently are one about plant-based cheese alternatives. The article said that plant-based cheese alternatives have less carbon footprint by 50% than the dairy equivalent. So even that on its own is a good enough reason to just have plant-based cheese. And another talked about farmers looking at ways to reduce methane produced by cows when they're burping and farting at the other end. You may remember as well over in Eastern Europe, maybe about a year ago, there was an article about cows wearing visors so that they think kind of like artificial, like virtual reality, when they think they're in green and grassy fields rather than in the grey, bland, miserable buildings which they spend their lives in. We know that farmers are very sensitive to the idea that the public hates seeing the separation distress caused them with the cows. And all of these things which I've just talked about show one thing, that everyone recognises the damage that animal farming does to the environment, but rather than actually solve it properly, which is to go vegan and look at plant-based alternatives, they'll put an else on it to try to make it more palatable to the public. So how you can help? First of all, you can go vegan. To contact us, we will help you. We'll be absolutely delighted to help you. Look at Challenge 22, look at Veganuary. They have tips on all the way through the year, not just in January. Look at the Vegan Recipe Club. Try Viva, try Animal Aid. They will also give you all the health tips as well. Endorse the plant-based treaty. You can do it as an individual, but you can also ask your company or your organisations and your MPs to endorse it as well. Tell your MP that you object to the massive bailouts that animal farming receives. If the bailouts stopped tomorrow, the majority of farmers would fail. Majority of farming in the industry would fail. Ask them to look at supporting sustainable plant farming instead. If you're already vegan, push for plant-based foods at your children's school, at your place of work, support vegan cafes and restaurants, and where cafes are charging extra for plant milks, raise your objection. Ask them why, when you're doing the right thing and you're trying to do the right thing by animals and also by the environment, ask them why they are charging you extra to do that, and show non-vegans how delicious our food can be. We are doing a cheese event this weekend, and we'll be letting people taste the alternatives to what essentially is curdled and processed breast milk of another species, which is meant for their baby, but which is stolen from them, by us to give to adult humans for their cup of tea. Now, it sounds ridiculous when you say it like that, doesn't it? And also this is a white liquid which this species, the cows, desperately need for their babies, and they only produce it when they have produced babies as well. So we take this without consent or need. We don't need it. If you're talking about the calcium argument as well, where do you get your protein from? Where do you get your calcium from? It's pretty moot. Have a look at Viva's website and look at their information on health and where people get the calcium from. Our sources of calcium as a vegan, and pretty much everything else as well, comes in at least equal to or greater than in greater quantities than cow's milk. So, you know, get clued up on that argument if you're a vegan, and kind of and be able to go back to non-vegans with a smile on your face to say, this is where I get my calcium from. If you need an incentive to go vegan and stop drinking milk and stop using cheese and butter, look at the investigations on the Animal Justice Project and Humane League website. They're not especially graphic, but they are heartbreakingly sad. They are desperately, desperately sad. Dairy means taking calves away from crying and distressed mothers and all of the stress and separation issues that causes. Dairy means the abuse and early death of female, young and adult cows and the early death of males. Dairy means dead cows. So ditch dairy and vote with your conscience, vote with your purse and your wallet. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you found that useful. Please take us up on, you know, coming along and trying the cheese. You know, we always say that if you don't like one type of cheese or one type of plant milk, there's dozens and dozens of others out there. So please try them. If you like what we do, please like us on our pages on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook and TikTok. And also please follow our YouTube channel as well. So thank you very much for listening. I'm going to sign off now. So this is Anna Malia talking about Dairy Still Kills, saying thank you very much and goodbye for now.